Revolt is a racing game released back in 1999. It was a multi-platform title available for the original PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and the PC, but today I'm looking at the Sega Dreamcast version. Revolt focuses on racing remote-controlled cars through semi-realistic environments. The opening track of the first championship does a really good job of setting the tone for the game. Cleverly titled In the Hood, you race through a suburban neighborhood block featuring white houses and picket fences. It does a great job giving you a sense of scale, driving a tiny car through a big world. The track design is probably the greatest asset to Revolt. The supermarket level features long shopping aisles, a freezer complete with slippery ice, produce section, and finally checkout lanes. Then there is the botanical garden that absolutely feels more like a garden than a racetrack. The museum level is most impressive, with different artifacts in each of the rooms that you race through. The sheer amount of variety in Revolt is outstanding. It's not just the same 3 themes repeated over and over in different configurations. There are a ton of vastly different environments to race through. Even tracks that are based on the same theme feel nothing alike. With few exceptions, you feel like you are racing through an authentic environment rather than a pre-designated race course. This can cause some confusion at first, as it's sometimes less than obvious where to go, but after a few laps, everything becomes clear and pretty easy to figure out. The biggest complaint Revolt usually receives is the difficulty. For a game that looks more cute than serious, this game is actually pretty brutal. The first issue is that the controls are really twitchy, much like a real remote control car. The twitchy controls and super light nature of an RC car means it's fairly easy to either spin out or get flipped over. The artificial intelligence is also pretty relentless and won't slow down if you fall behind. Therefore, you really need to be on top of your game to start winning. This is in sharp contrast to other racing games where the leaders slow down while you catch up. However, I've actually beaten all 4 championship difficulty levels in Revolt multiple times. Playing through the other modes of the game will unlock additional cars, often better than the cars unlocked for beating a championship mode. So if you go to time trials and clear the 4 easy courses, you'll get even more new cars. Same goes for single race and practice modes. The progress table in the game's menu actually reveals there are quite a few things that you can complete besides the main championship mode. Armed with a better stock of cars, I don't find the later championships impossible. Revolt is still hard for sure, but should be manageable for average gamers with a little patience. On the unrealistic side of things are the power-ups. There is nothing here that hasn't been done before, and occasionally you'll get screwed by a late race bottle rocket and have to repeat a course, but it's fine. If you like offensive weapons in your racing games, this is fairly adequate. As I mentioned earlier, in late 1999 through 2000, the Dreamcast was the only next-gen system available, and there were quite a few multi-platform titles released during this period. The Dreamcast versions were almost always vastly superior to the N64 and PlayStation versions. It was a good time to be an early adopter. Revolt on the Dreamcast has aged really well. The remote control car models look great, the levels still feel detailed, and most of the textures are pretty sharp. I find it to be fairly appealing. The frame rate slips up now and again, but as a whole, this is pretty great. The music deserves a special shout out. As this was developed in Europe, most of the tracks have that late 90s techno dance feel that was all the rage. The quality is high and some of the beats are truly memorable. The rest of the sound effects live up to the soundtrack with awesome little motor sounds that capture the feeling of real RC cars. I absolutely loved this game when it was new and even saw it through to completion. The scale is massive and it will take a long time to unlock all the extra cars available. I don't put that kind of time into it now, usually settling for beating the 4 different championships, but I have a total blast every time. From start to finish, Revolt is fun and challenging, filled with excellent tracks and great music. There are few faults to speak of. Revolt for the Dreamcast gets a 4 out of 5.